With killing frost and freezing temperatures on the forecast over the next couple of nights, I think it's the end of my planters. Now I could cover them with frost cloth to protect them, and I do have a video on how to do that. And that would probably buy me another couple of weeks, because traditionally we get a couple cold nights and then the temperatures start to go back up. But to be perfectly honest, our October is really, really hectic this year, and I think I need to just cut my losses and start emptying these pots now. So I'm going to be emptying them out. They are my homemade self-watering pots. If you want to see a video on that, there's one for that as well. But we're going to empty them out. I'm going to salvage what I want to try and overwinter, and the rest of it we're just going to pitch. So we're going to move out front because I think that's where I have the ones that I really want to try and salvage some things out of. As we head towards the front of the house, let's take a little bit of time to admire the beautiful annual flowers and the joy that they have given us this year. The begonias are just absolutely beautiful. They did so well underneath this tree. I think that's going to be something we're going to repeat next year. Maybe not the red color, but definitely putting something around those trees. As we head towards the front, the pots that I had in front of the garage have been replaced by my Wizard of Oz decorations. And we're just going to move down here to where we've moved the pots so we can start working. And you can see we have 3 pots. We've got elephant ears, we have impatiens, we have some house plants in there, some terenia, a little bit of everything. And I'm going to want to remove the Rex begonias and maybe the elephant ears. I wasn't too happy with the way they grew this year, so I don't know if it's worth it, but we're going to tackle these pots, see if we can get these 3 done, and we'll see what the roots look like inside these homemade self-watering pots. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is tip these pots forward. There is a reservoir of water in the bottom of these pots. Now I don't expect it to be very full. We did get a little bit of rain the other day, but I have slowed off on watering because I knew this time was coming and I didn't want to dump out a whole bunch of water. So let's just tip these over. They're not very heavy, so I don't think there's much water in these at all. That one's a little heavier. Now they are plastic pots, and we're just going to tip and rock it back and forth a little bit. And there we go. That pot is empty. I'm going to do the same with all of them. This one definitely had a little bit more water in it. As I mentioned earlier, these are my homemade self-watering pots. They're plastic. There is no hole in the bottom, and that's very important for making my pots. Instead, we drill a hole in the side, and let me explain how it works. This is the mechanism in the bottom of the pots. You can see I have a piece of plastic, and it's got all these little holes drilled through it and one big hole in the center. And this fits down inside my pot, just like this. Now where this level is, you can see my drainage hole is about 1 inch above this piece of plastic. Inside that center section, I put this drainage piece, and it's got holes in here so that when I'm planting, I only have this much soil in, and I do pack this full of soil so it acts as a wick to help bring up the water to the roots of the plant. Now, as you can see, the roots have filled in all in that soil. And there is some that came down through the center section as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my machete, we're going to hack away at this and break off, get this elephant ear out of here, and divide anything else that might need to come out. Now, I don't always have the best luck overwintering elephant ears, and I'm not sure I'm going to give it a try this year because I really wasn't very happy with the way they grew. Although if you look at them right now, they look super, super great. But they should have looked this good earlier in the season, not now at the end. I'm not going to go over a tutorial on how to overwinter the elephant ears because some years I don't have good success with it. But there's a channel called Y Garden. I think it's Y Garden. It's Yuli's channel, and she's a master at overwintering elephant ears. Look at the size of that. That's fantastic. Considering it started with one little bulb that I got at Hafner's Garden Center. But anyway, Yuli does a really good job on that. I'll see if I can put a link in the description or somehow get you the information to how you can follow her. We're just going to separate that out. Now, the only other plant that I'm really interested in at this point is this Rex begonia. Even this wandering Jew I'm not terribly interested in. That's something that I did overwinter last year in the basement, so I know I can do it again. And this soil is chilly. So even though the temperatures might not be really cold air temperature wise, this is definitely catching the cold. So we're going to pot this one up along with the other two and see if we can overwinter them in the basement or maybe on the kitchen counter. We'll see. Now, there is also a perennial astilbe in here. I think it's Dark Side of the Moon astilbe, which did not rise to the occasion in this pot. But maybe if I put it in the garden, it will. And everything else, unfortunately, is going to go on the compost pile. So I have a wheelbarrow here, and I'm just going to dump it right in that. Well, we have an unexpected problem. I lost my Rode microphone. Of course it's black, and our soil is black. So I'm going to paw through this stuff and see, hopefully I can find it. I found it! It's a shame to add this to the compost pile because there's some nice potting soil in this wheelbarrow. So instead, I'm going to add it directly to the garden. I have a couple spots where I need to build the soil up, and I'm just going to dump the whole thing there. Over the winter, these plants are going to break down. In the spring, you'll probably never even know they're there. If there are a little bit of dry things, we can pull it out. But no sense wasting it on the compost pile. I have about 35 pots that I need to empty, and I'm not going to take you around as I do each one because basically the steps are the same. Tip them over, pull them out, and take them to the compost pile or add the soil to the garden. There are a couple differences. For example, this pot, and there's what, 2, 4, 6 of them. These will not be reintroduced to the garden, and the main reason is because there is some wire vine planted in here. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the wire vine will overwinter, and I don't want to introduce that to my garden. I bet that's a beast to get rid of once it gets in the ground. So therefore I'm going to take it up. We have a spot up in the upper field where there's a big hole that we can throw this in, and it won't get out of control up there. Another plant that I'm not going to put into the garden is going to be the variegated vinca vine. That sometimes can overwinter, and I definitely don't want that in my garden as well. If I knew for sure that we were going to have a typical zone 5 winter and I didn't have to worry about things possibly overwintering, I would go for it. But last year we had, what, 5, 6, 8 feet of snow. I had dahlias that overwintered in the ground. I can't take that chance. Dahlias aren't invasive, so I don't worry about it. Wire vine and vinca, that's a totally different story. So as I empty the other plants and pots, I'll be evaluating to see which ones I want to put in the garden and which ones are going to go up into the upper field. We did have a hard killing frost last night, and it did knock back some of the real tender annuals, but some things came through okay, like this salvia. And instead of chopping this down and adding it to the compost pile, I thought I would leave it so the bees have something to continue to feed on. Now what I did is I just tipped this out of the pot, I removed the pot, and then set the root ball and everything right back here on the patio. And because those roots are so compacted, this is staying together nice and firm. And I'm going to leave it this way as long as Mother Nature keeps them alive. Now, you may be wondering, why remove the pots? And let me explain. I like to put my pots to bed for the winter clean. So I need to clean all of these pots before I stack them and store them for the winter season. Now, we've been going through a drought, so I don't have a lot of water to wash all of these. So I'm trying to be a little conscious about it. They are calling for us to have rain almost every day for the next week. Now, probably not a lot of rain, but maybe it's enough to rinse some of these things off, maybe collect a little bit of rain so I can use that to wash the pots out. But this is going to be one of my chores coming up. The other thing is, you want to do this on a warm day. There's nothing worse than being out here doing this when it's freezing cold. So getting the pots clean is part of my big push to get ready for winter, and that's why I was in such a hurry to tackle the pots. One of you asked about my pot stands and whether I made them or not, and the answer is yes, I did make them, and I'll explain in just a second. But when I put the pots in front of the garage, I thought they looked a little too short and not very special, and I thought they needed to be elevated, no pun intended. So I made a stand, and it's basically a 12-inch square of 2-inch wood. Now my neighbor's in construction, so I pulled this out of his burning pit. But it's 12 by 12, and then the bottom is just wooden fence caps. And I just screwed them together, and that became my plant stand. And I painted it brown so that it matches my pots. And you can see I have one here. The pot simply comes off. You can set it straight, you can set it on an angle. But I think it not only elevates the pot in height, but I think it also elevates the pot in its look. It looks a little bit fancier. Now, what do you do if you don't have the ability to get wood? I thought about that while I was cleaning out pots today, and I had an idea. Now, I don't know if it would work, so you'd have to try it. But what if you were to take a paver, you know, a 12-inch paver, a concrete paver, and let's pretend that this brick is our paver. And then you go raid your cupboard and find some containers that you can make your own feet out of. I would go and get, now there's a difference between concrete and cement. And I don't know which one you would want to get, so you'd have to ask at the store. But what if you were to create your own feet using, this is a cottage cheese container, as your mold? So think of that it would sit, you know, you fill this with concrete. When it's solid, you remove the plastic, but that would give you a foot, and that's not too bad looking. Now a paver would be longer than this, but I think that might be a nice look. Would give you some added height, or if you didn't like it that way, you could put it this way. The only thing I would suggest is if you do this, make sure you put the concrete all the way to the top so that it would be level, and that would make it a little easier when you put it onto your paving brick or square. And if you don't like the color, you can always paint it to match your pots. But if you can't get wood to do this, I would consider giving this a try. Might not be too bad. And make sure you put something in there that, like an oil, so that this will release from the concrete. So, but I would give that a try if you're interested in replicating this, but you don't have the ability to do wood. Look what else survived the hard frost, the begonias. It's exciting. We get to enjoy them a little bit longer. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe, and keep those questions coming. Have a great day, guys. Get out in your gardens and have some fun.